Charlotte Perkins Gilman was born on July 3, 1860, and died on August 17, 1935. Gilman was born in the middle of the women's rights movement, and throughout her life she would advocate for women's rights. Growing up, Gilman had three brilliant aunts to look up to: Isabella Beecher Hooker, who was a suffragist and abolitionist; Harriet Beecher Stowe, who is the best-selling author of Uncle Tom's Cabin; and Catherine Beecher, education reformer and an advocate for Native American rights. Gilman would become active in reformist and women's rights organizations such as the Pacific Coast Women's Press Association and the Women's Alliance. Throughout her life, Gilman suffered from postpartum depression, and she saw a specialist who would prescribe her with the rest cure, which became the inspiration and the basis of her famous story, The Yellow Wallpaper. The Yellow Wallpaper was published in 1892 and is still regarded as one of the most important works of feminist literature because of its themes of mental health and awareness. The Yellow Wallpaper follows an unnamed narrator and her life with her husband, who also happens to be her doctor. The narrator's husband decides that she is suffering from a temporary nervous depression and decides to put her on the rest cure. So the narrator is stuck in the house all day with nothing to read, write, or paint with. She is secluded from everybody, including her own baby, and is not allowed to have visitors. What follows is the narrator's descent into psychosis, which is caused because of the so-called rest cure. John represents the theme of women's subordination in marriage. Women in this era were definitely second-class citizens when compared to men. Their thoughts and ideas were pushed aside and they were ignored. If they had any type of depression or disobeyed their husbands, they would be labeled as hysterical and dealt with accordingly. In The Yellow Wallpaper, John is the narrator's husband and doctor, which is a double-edged sword. He now has complete control over his wife's body and mind. He controls what she does, thinks, eats, and her medical care on top of all of that. John does not believe the narrator when she tells him that she is sick, and he constantly bullies her. The rest cure was developed by Silas Weir Mitchell in the late 1800s. It was usually prescribed to treat hysteria in female patients. It could last anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, but possibly longer if the patient's condition had not improved. The rest cure consisted of isolating patients from friends and family. The patient was not allowed to read, write, paint, draw, socialize, and sometimes they were not allowed to even talk. The basis of this treatment was for the patient to live a most domestic life as possible, and they would become better. But in the case of the narrator in The Yellow Wallpaper, the rest cure had only exacerbated her condition to the point of psychosis. Gilman wrote The Yellow Wallpaper based on her own experience of being prescribed the rest cure by her doctor. And for 3 months, she had been deprived of all the things she loved, including writing and painting. Gilman was pushed so close to the breaking point of her mind. The Yellow Wallpaper serves as a warning against the rest cure that was not actually a cure at all. Gilman writes, "Jenny wanted to sleep with me, the sly thing, but I told her I should undoubtedly rest better for a night all alone. That was clever, for really I wasn't alone one bit. As soon as it was moonlight and that poor thing began to crawl and shake the pattern, I got up and ran to help her." The yellow wallpaper that surrounds the narrator is a representation of family structure, medicine, and domesticity. Gilman uses it to show how the narrator is trapped by stereotypical feminine roles in a male-dominant society. The color of the wallpaper plays an important role in the story because yellow is most commonly associated with cheerfulness and happiness. Yellow is the color of sunshine, flowers, and it is the brightest color on the visible spectrum. There's irony in the fact that the narrator is trapped in this room that is covered in a color that is supposed to uplift and inspire. The longer she stays in the room, the more her mind detaches from reality. She soon starts to see a woman inside of the wallpaper that she is determined to get out of there. She sees the lady wandering around in the daytime and admires her courage because she knows that she cannot do the same. In the end of the story, our narrator locks her bedroom door one night and desperately tears at the wallpaper to help the woman be free from her bright yellow prison. The narrator also believes that she can go in and out of the wallpaper just as the other woman she sees does. Charlotte Perkins Gilman wrote the Yellow Wallpaper to bring awareness to mental health issues and how it was being improperly treated, especially in women. We follow the unnamed narrator to her breaking point. She sees women trapped behind the putrid yellow wallpaper and eventually becomes one.